America. My name is John Estrada, and we are live broadcasting out of Las Vegas, Nevada. We're fortunate today to have Tim Petarra. He is a very important candidate for Congress. It looks like he's going to make his announcement soon. So this is a pre-announcement, not quite an announcement, almost an announcement. And so, Tim, welcome to our show, Conservative America.
I appreciate you having me.
And today we're going to talk and find out who you are and what are some of your stances on the major issues that are affecting us. First of all, let's go to the very basic. Who are you?
My name is Tim Petarra. I'm a native of Southern California. Lived there most of my life. I lived here in Vegas about 2.5 years, almost 3. Moved out here when my grandfather wasn't doing too well. Unfortunately, he passed right when I moved out here. But I have family out here. I spent my summers out here, so I feel like I grew up out here most of my life, at least for the summers. I'm a political activist by trade. That's what I've done since 2003. And I've traveled the whole country, being fortunate enough to be one of the few activists who has been paid to travel and work on campaigns, state initiatives, different causes. So I'm very blessed to do that, what I love doing. That's basically me in a nutshell.
I think there's a lot more to you in a nutshell. Basically, let's talk a little bit about your status in the United States military. I think that's a very impressive one, but let's find out about your military history.
So I'm a U.S. Army veteran. I was a military police officer in the 529th Honor Guard out of Heidelberg Army Headquarters, Europe. It's not there anymore. It's moved to Wiesbaden, I believe. But I was in the Honor Guard unit. I did every detail from military police duties to postal to chemical supply. You name it. If you know what the Army's like, it's kind of like you're a gopher until you need for something else. But I was in the Army for about 3 years. I was medically discharged due to bad knees. Wasn't by choice, but different. I wanted to do 20. The Army said, "Here's 3." We argued. I lost. And that's kind of how that happened. But ever since I got home in 2012, I've been transitioning. I think it's a major issue with our veteran community. And I've been struggling with it myself, and I think a lot of veterans have. And there's a saying, with veterans, if you're lucky, transition is a few months to a year. If you're unlucky, it's a few years to be veterans. And that's true, I think, for a lot of veterans, is we want to feel like we're at home, we're actually comfortable. And I think that's one of the major issues that pushed me towards activism was I had been doing it before the Army, but when I got home, I had a whole new appreciation for the way things worked. I think I matured a lot in the Army. I think it made me into the man I am today, and I took the lessons I learned from the Army with my experience from before the Army, and that's what's been driving me ever since.
And what was your actual rating when you came out? What was
I left an E4 specialist.
E4 specialist. Wow, that's great. And so you traveled a lot. You learned a lot of great lessons, and that sort of builds a foundation for being able to deal with all kinds of different types of people, because you learn you meet all kinds of different types of people, international, and so that's a good experience to have, especially for work for Congress.
Yeah, I lived in Germany for 2 years, and I lived on a NATO base. So if you know what a NATO base is like, it has soldiers from everywhere. So I mean, I got to deal with lots of different cultures, different customs, different right structures. I saluted like every day, every 5 seconds, all the brasses on the base. But I mean, you learn a lot about people living in different countries, their customs, what they hold value to. And then I traveling with my activism. I've been all over the country as well, learning from different people all over the place, from the Midwest to the South. And I spent the longest time was in New Jersey. I was there for about 3.5 months. And if you don't know that, it's a very blue state, but it's very different. It's not like California blue. California blue, they'll chuck a brick at your car. New Jersey blue, they'll call the police on you and arrest you. It's very different. It's very like state control. It's kind of living in a communist country. It really is. It was very interesting to do free speech activism. I almost got arrested 6 times in New Jersey for doing free speech activism. And it was just insane. I mean, the culture is totally different. Very, very, very nativist. If you're not from Jersey, if you don't blend in, they definitely peg you as something wrong. And legitimately, shave all my facial hair off. I had to buy all new clothes. I had to just change my appearance totally in order to do my job because it was just very, you stuck out and you talk like California and you look like California, you know, you don't belong here. It was very interesting to learn that and deal with it.
So, okay, so let's talk some issues of the day. We'll start, first of all, international issues, and then we'll come to domestic. Our President Donald Trump has put a lot of issues out there. One of the big issues is North Korea. How do you feel as a future member of Congress? What do you think we need to do with North Korea?
So North Korea is a prime example of not solving problems that are present when you have an opportunity to do. So, for example, you can take it all the way back to the Korean War. My grandfather served the Korean War. We failed to solve the problem that was there. We had an immediate threat, an invasion of the South. We had the capability to finish it. And we did not. We had the military superiority. We had the coalition of the UN. We had everything going for us, good generals. We had an opportunity to fix it, but because of the failure of President Truman, we did not fix it. Fast forward to the Clintons, same thing. We had the opportunity to fix it before they were a nuclear power. Under Obama, they let it slide. We had a lack of American leadership overseas. Now they are a nuclear power, or somewhat close to it. And now with the financial ties, because of failure of leadership with China, now it complicates things. So it's kind of like, how much worse are you going to let this go on before we're basically can't do anything about it? Yeah. Right now we have a coalition in place. We have nations who are threatened by North Korea, and we have the capability to take care of it. I think we should. Personally, I don't think it's going to happen. I think what's more likely is us calling China's bluff, and they're going to essentially put a Chinese-backed coup. Another member of the Kim family, I'm assuming his sister, she's more ruthless, but she's actually loyal to Beijing. I think it'd make more sense if they just took him out of the equation and put someone else in to North Korea, because all China cares about is a puppet state. They don't care who's in power, they just want that someone in power.
Sure.
So I think that's more logical what would happen. But either way, I think we need to have an influence in it, and we need to make sure it gets handled, because we cannot have this every day he says something crazier and just see if he's going to finally call her bluff.
Or keep launching missiles, and one day you might get lucky.
Yeah, seriously. If you think about it, where he's located, it's a direct threat to our shipping lanes. There's a reason our Navy is a world power, and we have naval stations all over the world. Mm-hmm. Our Navy is what allows our economy to globally trade. That's what we don't understand. Our intervention of our naval forces around the world are what protect our economy.
The naval lanes.
Right. The naval shipping lanes. Yeah. And that's what it's very important, because the more capability North Korea has, the more we're vulnerable in the Pacific.
Okay, and then let's say, what do you think about Russia?
So I have a weird thing about Russia. I think they're a second-rate power. I don't think they're a direct threat to us. I think it's kind of like that kid that wants to gain more notoriety on the playground. I think our lack of leadership, especially in NATO, because Obama changed commanders of NATO from an American to a German when I was there, I think our lack of influence in NATO, especially in NATO, but around the world, essentially gave them the green light to do what they want. I think it all started with the failure of President Bush when he did not intervene in Georgia, one of our greatest allies, in my opinion. When they invaded Georgia, we did nothing because we didn't want to interrupt the election. You know, that's what NATO's job is. NATO's whole function is to check Russia. And I think when you do not use these coalitions that you build regionally, that allows power players to say, "Oh, they're sleeping at the helm. Let me go ahead and take some land here." Crimea is the same exact thing.
How about Turkey?
You know, Turkey's a weird one.
Because they're part of the NATO alliance,
right?
But yet they seem to be like an enemy to us.
You know, I kind of consider Turkey and Pakistan in the same kind of boat. I think the government's loyal to us, but the people don't like us, and then factions within the government don't like us. So it's kind of like you're fighting two fronts of war there. With Turkey, I think they need to be reined in. I think you need to say, look, Turkey, get your act together. Stop screwing up. Either you're leaving NATO, you're on your own with Russia, have fun with that, or straighten up, fly right, and be part of NATO.
Sure. I
think they're torn between being a Middle Eastern country and a European one, which they're not, but, you know, doing that kind of thing. I truly think they need to be reined in, and we need to have them kind of on board, you know, pick a team. I think our failure of NATO leadership basically gives them the green light to do what they want. If we had more of a centralized NATO leadership in Europe, especially in Eastern Europe, counteracting Russia, reining in Turkey, I think that would be safer for the region as a whole.
How about Iran?
You know, Iran, they're kind of in the same boat as Russia. I think they're a regional power. I wouldn't say second rate. They're not the same thing as like China or Russia.
They really hate us, though.
Right, and I mean that's all.
They probably hate us as much as North Korea hates us.
True. I don't think they have the capability to hit us, though. I think they're
not now, but they would love to.
Oh no, definitely. I think they should be watched. I think they definitely need to be definitely corralled. I would say that we're in a position to keep them kind of in check in the region. We have allies: Jordan, Yemen, Saudi Arabia. We have the capability and the resources to keep them in check. But if they're another one, if we do not keep them in check, then they're going to be the next North Korea. We are lucky enough to keep them in check where they're not as a threat. However, we do need to keep Israel in the loop because Israel is the first target. And for a country's platform to say, we're going to make you not exist, that's definitely a direct threat.
How about NAFTA with Canada and Mexico? What do you think about that?
I think NAFTA is a joke and it shouldn't exist.
So renegotiate it or just eliminate it? Or?
I think you should eliminate it. I think we should do direct trade deals per country. I don't think regional trade deals makes any sense. I think there's always going to be losers, it's usually us. So I think having a direct trade deal with Mexico, a direct trade deal with Canada, allows you more flexibility to be more lucrative. I think NAFTA doesn't make any sense because it's raising the price of corn, which raises the price of tortillas in Mexico, which is their food some of it. And that's the whole reason for illegal immigration. You're making it where the cost of living in Mexico is going up. I have friends who've been deported. I grew up with Mexico, even though they're illegal, got deported and sent to Mexico. And I asked them, how is it? It's expensive. It costs a lot.
How about the 51st state, Puerto Rico? What do you think about that?
So I'm actually on the opposite end of the right wing on this one. I think good.
Well, let me see. I'm on your side too. I think that for security reasons, forget about the cost. The cost to me doesn't. It makes a lot of sense. It's going to be expensive, but to me the cost is worth it because of the fact that you have Puerto Rico so close to the United States. We don't want to have a knucklehead like the Fidel Castros or anybody else get so close to us and have so much. There could be a lot of chaos. So it's better it to become the 51st state, then we'll have more controls.
I think it makes sense on a political reason, too, because I would argue the Republican Party in Puerto Rico is actually more established than, let's say, California. So I think politically it makes sense. It would hurt us in the short term. But in the long term, I think it'd benefit us because it's going to hurt the Democrats because they got to stretch their dollar. That's another place they have to be competitive about. Now, they're going to gain 2 senators, a couple congressmen.
Well, that's just temporary. That's just temporary.
Short term, yeah.
Yeah, long term.
Short term.
And then I think the people are going to realize, wait a minute, was it the Democrats or Republicans that helped fix us?
Right. I think if you give them statehood, they would eventually go red. Just like Florida, Cuba and Florida. Same principle. One thing I am an advocate for, though, is modifying or repealing the Jones Act. A lot of people don't know what that is. It basically raises the cost of shipping goods to all the non-continental U.S. entities. Yeah. So you have Guam, Hawaii, Alaska, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands. It makes things very expensive. And on paper, that law makes a lot of sense. But it was written in 1917. It needs to be modified. Because although it does some good things, it raises the cost of doing business in those places and the shipping costs astronomically. And I think doing that alone, let them debate 51st state, okay. But repealing the modifications of the Jones Act that affect the economy of these places and lowering their cost of living would do a lot to help them in the short term.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Pretty good. Good issues. Okay, and then how about the domestic issues? Let's go issue by issue. I think it would be important. What do you think about gun rights?
I love guns.
Okay, so you support the Second Amendment?
I think the Second Amendment and the First Amendment are both self-regulating. And what I mean by that is if I, flip you the bird, you say whatever, flip the bird back, it's solved. If I pull a gun on you, you have a gun as well, it's solved. No one's going to walk around shooting each other because they have a gun, someone else doesn't. If you allow a Second Amendment to self-regulate itself, just like the Old West, there were crazy people, there were molesters, child rapists, all that in the Old West. They were there. They didn't last around very long. The Second Amendment is self-regulating. If you are not content,
they had swift justice those years.
If you break into my house and I have a 12-gauge underdog, I want to know you're coming. Yeah. You break into my house, you picked the wrong house. I'm sorry, but that's Darwinism. Yeah. You picked the wrong house to live in. I think any regulation by the government on the people of the Second Amendment doesn't make any sense because it doesn't do you any good. You can look at any regulation. It always encroaches on the Second Amendment right, and you're giving the power to the state to decide whether you have a firearm or not. And I think if you look at it statistically speaking, if you're really concerned about gun violence, ban handguns, not my AR-15. If you're really concerned about people being attacked with objects or weapons, then ban baseball bats and knives. But they don't have that argument because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Okay, so let's talk Roe versus Wade.
So I believe abortion is state-sanctioned genocide. I think it truly is racist. I think it truly is genocide. You have a majority of abortion clinics, about 96% of them, are in low-income minority neighborhoods. I think it's a way to control the population. I think it's wrong, it's unethical, and I think it's genocidal.
So Planned Parenthood, how do you feel about Planned Parenthood?
They're a nonprofit organization. I think it should follow state. I think it should follow state laws, whatever their state decides, because I'm a states' rights advocate. But they should get zero funding from the federal government. The federal government should not be funding genocide against its citizens.
Well, I personally think they should be put out of business. I just don't like some of their leaders that have been really compromising what's been going on for years and years and years. So
definitely, here's one thing. Another thing about Planned Parenthood, just like unions, I don't understand how you can be one organization, be nonprofit, non-political, whatever, and then be another one with the same exact name and give money to candidates. To me, that's unethical. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, yeah, I guess on paper you're different organizations, but you're really not. That right there, I think, is a violation of ethics in our tax code.
Yeah, I think that's stretching the law a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of like
as a member of Congress, you try to close the loopholes.
Definitely, I think we should simplify the tax code in general. I think everybody should be able to read the tax code with the basic understanding of English and be like, oh yeah, okay, that's against the law, that's for the law.
So let me ask the $1 million question: are you going to be a rhino? Are you an establishment candidate? Are you a conservative? What are you in the political map? Where do you see yourself?
So on the international scale, I would be what you call a neo-nationalist. Is basically civic nationalism. On the international
so in other words, America first.
Yes. Yeah. Regardless of your skin color, it's more nationality based over ethnicity. So on the international scale, that's what I am. On the American political scale, I'm what you would call a paleo-conservative with a little bit of neoconservative, depending on the issue, mostly foreign policy.
So just so the audience understands, the type of member of Congress you would be, House of Representatives.
Right.
Who do you see in the House of Representatives that you could probably align yourself rather easily?
Currently
in the House of Representatives.
I don't think I'm like anyone currently. I think if you had to describe me to somebody, it'd be like a Pat Buchanan or a Rick Santorum, I think would be.
So, but they're no longer in politics. They're no longer elected officials.
Right. But ideologically speaking, that's kind of what I would align with, I think.
Okay. How about a U.S. Senator? Would any of the U.S. Senators be close to your philosophy? So you're saying you're pretty unique. You're probably one of a kind. You're more.
I pull on foreign policy from a neoconservative because I understand foreign policy intervention. If you do it correctly, not how we do it now. Correctly do it.
Now you supported Trump.
I did, yes.
And you would be in favor of his initiatives?
Yeah, most of them, yeah. I think we should, I don't agree with him on the marijuana initiative. But other than that, I'm pretty much in favor of everything he does.
Okay, well, since you brought it up, that's probably a good time to talk about marijuana. As you know, Nevada, California, Colorado, Washington, probably some other states that I probably don't know about, are passing it. It looks like other states are probably going to be passing it.
Yeah.
But there's really a disconnect right now between the states and the federal government because federal law basically says it's illegal.
Right.
And I understand Sessions is not a happy camper when he's dealing with that kind of stuff. So he's sort of like the guy in charge.
Right.
And I believe there's a shortage of marijuana here in Nevada because of that fact. So
kind of technically. So I'm on the board for NORML, which is a national organization for marijuana legislation and reform. And it's not necessarily a shortage, it's more of a logistic problem. So the reason in Nevada is they had to go through the alcohol distribution network, and their business is alcohol. They don't care about marijuana, it's secondary for them. So you're kind of like relying on shipments from someone who isn't the main focus as you. So that's what I mean by the shortage. It's not technically a shortage. It's
from information I've heard, the reason that they're having this, let's say, logistical problem was that there are people that are afraid to bring it to Nevada because they're afraid that they're going to be arrested by the feds.
Yeah, there's a lot of legal kind of up in the air about it. Even our own state government. We had a panel a few days ago. Our own state government, people who wrote the damn law, were like, well, here's kind of how it works now. Here's how we're thinking. I mean, that's the problem when your state and your federal is not communicating.
And in other words, there's a lot of doubt, and that's confusion, and that's causing a lot of
It hurts the market as well.
Yeah.
On both sides, even if you're for or against it, it still hurts the market. I think the problem with overregulation like we have now is it creates a black market for marijuana still, and it drives up prices. Now, there's still paying it if you go to any dispensary, it flies around the corner. But we need to get this handled. My thing is, federally, if I'm elected, I would move towards legalization because it doesn't make any sense for states to legalize something or just not enforce the regulations in defiance of the federal government, and then the federal government not wanting or having the capability to go after them for it. It doesn't make any sense. You either have a law or you don't. We need to get on the same page.
Well, okay, let's go to sanctuary cities. It's sort of the same scenario. You have the states and the cities basically looking at the area one way, and the federal government looking at the other way. So there's a conflict. Right. So how would you vote on sanctuary city?
So on that, I think it's clear defiance of the law in the Constitution. It clearly states the borders can be maintained by the federal government only. I think
immigration.
Yeah, right. Immigration. I really do think governors who defy the law should be arrested. They're in defiance. They're not out of their lane. You cannot handle federal issues as a state government. You know, it's different from marijuana. I think we're going to regulate the drinking age and cigarettes. Okay, fine. There's a states' rights argument for that. But as far as immigration, you cannot do that to the federal government. It is clearly defined whose role it is in.
Unfortunately, let's be honest, Congress and the presidents have not been able to deal with the immigration issue for various reasons.
Right.
It's sort of like the third rail of politics. Nobody really wants to touch it.
But
they've been doing it for decades and decades. Right. Just keep pushing off to the next Congress, next president. And what's happening is becoming to be a bigger and bigger problem. Yeah. And there's a lot of people out there that have been waiting in line to become an American, and they can't because there's a rush to break the law, and they get in. And so there's this need or this idea of how people become citizens when they break the law. So there's a big disconnect. So what do you think? How are you going to solve that problem?
So here's the thing. Personally, it doesn't really matter if I want to deport them all or give them all amnesty. It doesn't matter what I personally think. What I think I can get done is a different story. For example, on my website, what I basically generalize say is, look, you need to have a period of time where people need to come register with the government to get documentation because they are literally in limbo, political limbo. They have no status of like why they're here. They're just here illegally. So what I would do is say you have so much time to come to the office and get registered.
Well, let me look at the other side. The reason they're here is to get jobs.
Right.
And so what they do is they go knock on any business, any opportunity, and they get a job.
Right.
And so there's no verification, or there's a e-verification, but people aren't really utilizing that and being held accountable. Right. So do you go after businesses, or do you just say, because there's a lot of complex issues working here.
If they're breaking law by hiring people who are not born here and who don't have a legal right to work here, they are breaking the law, and they should face judgment because they know it's wrong. What I'm saying is you have two issues on the immigration side. You have a border that is unprotected and an immigration system that doesn't work.
So you support Trump's wall?
I don't think a wall would really work, but if he did it, I would support it, if that makes sense. Personally, I'd like to see, like in North Las Vegas, we have a contract bid for a solar wall that would actually generate money. So if we were doing something like that where it's cost effective, I'd be for it. Just building a random wall doesn't make sense to me. I think if you're going to do one, do it correctly.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. All right, so basically we have immigration as a very complex issue.
Yeah.
The leader of the House of Representatives is a guy by the name of Paul Ryan.
Yeah.
What do you think about Paul Ryan?
I had really high hopes for him, to be honest with you. I really did. When he talked economics and I heard him as the VP candidate for Romney, I was like, awesome. I had high hopes for him. And it really seems like he let us down. I really am disappointed that he just kind of, I don't know, went to establishment, I guess, but it just kind of seemed really disappointing that he could have easily solved that as a vice presidential candidate, talking economics. Here's how we're going to fix the budget. Here's how we're going to do things. He's a numbers guy, and he just kind of didn't do it. He had no fight in it, and that's when I kind of started losing it for him. Once he became Speaker of the House, he kind of went away from his values. So for me, it kind of seems like he's in too deep to be effective. I think we need new leadership across the board.
Okay. You would support, who would you support for the leadership role?
That's another thing. We don't have any leaders on our side. That's the hard part.
So
I think we need a lot of new candidates to run, win, and fill the Congress with new, fresh blood. Because
okay, so term limits. How do you feel about term limits?
I'm in favor of them. I actually signed a campaign promise. I'm in favor of term limits. I think it hurt Republicans short term. Long term, it would help us.
All right. Are there any issues that you could think of that you want to talk about right now?
You know, veteran transition is a big one with me. It's honestly why I'm running. You know, you have veteran suicide. The 22.
So is that 22 number of suicides? Is that you think is there more than that?
Yes, 22 a day is the number the VA estimates that take their own life every day. Those are people I call the VA. I'm going to kill myself. They don't answer or whatever. Boom, and I do it. Those are the ones that seek treatment at the VA. They go in. Those are the ones that interact with the VA. If you take into account veterans that don't deal with the VA, it's more about 36, 37 a day. So it's almost doubled, and that's disturbing. And that right there is a clear sign of why we need real transitional help. For me, I think it's a transitional problem. PTSD, substance abuse, opioid abuse, all of that isn't. It's an after effect.
But do you ever give up on transition?
No.
In other words, like you were saying earlier, you said transition could be one year to many decades.
Right.
And so you should never give up on veterans, no matter how long it takes.
Right.
Because there are, from what I understand, Vietnam, there was something like 58,000 troops that were killed during the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
But since then, 100,000 have committed suicide.
Yeah.
So that's almost double of what actually lost their life during the war itself.
Right.
And so I'm in total agreement with you. Suicide is a big issue that I don't think the VA is doing a good enough job. That's why I think they're failing. They need to go out there and they really need to find these veterans. They're not finding the veterans. They're waiting for the veterans to come to them.
Right. Yeah, in my I have a plan to solve veteran homelessness where we use old acres from military bases, use them as transition centers to actually house them, feed them, medical, psych, job training, everything.
Well, there's a lot of organizations that are ripping veteran organizations out there that are ripping off veterans and financial and federal aid. There's one group out here called Veterans Village.
Yeah.
That they're sucking in all kinds of money using the name of Veterans Village, getting donations, private donations, and they have hardly any veterans that they're helping.
Right.
So, and these organizations like that need to be really looked at.
Right.
And I'm sure we probably know others out there that could be very that hurt the veterans and the veterans issues. The other thing too is one thing that I was happy to see happen was that the DOD and the Department of Veterans Affairs now connected their databases.
Yeah. It took how many years?
We've been calling for that improve that for many years now.
Yeah.
But finally they got that right, and that's a good thing. That's
going to help streamline claims and benefits.
But let's face it, the VA still has the denial factor is that it's not, they want every veteran to prove that they are injured, even though they have proof already.
Right.
So they want proof on proof on proof. And that's, to me, I think that needs to be corrected. The other is combined rating. You can have one veteran that has 30%, 60%, 40%, 20%, and you combine it, and it's less than 100%.
Right.
So what kind of math is that?
Yeah, their chart. It's funny you say that. So their chart that they have, I was looking it up and I was going through my ailments and stuff, my compensation. And,
what's your rating, by the way?
I'm rated 80.
80.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 90.
So I went through the chart, and they're like, "Oh, I'm like so me and her on the phone, right, doing this on the phone together, going through the chart, going through everything." And she goes, "Yeah," and then you get 70, and I said, "I'm ready to get 80," and she goes, "Oh, you should be at 70," and I'm like, "That doesn't make any sense." And she's like, "Oh, well, whatever, it's fine." And I'm just like, "Really? I don't understand. Like, what's going on?" And it's just funny because that system doesn't make any sense. And what I think personally, now I'm gonna get some slack from veterans for this, but personally, I think if you're a veteran and you served honorably, you shouldn't have to struggle to survive. You shouldn't be rich, but you shouldn't have to struggle. You shouldn't be working at McDonald's when you come out of the service.
Well, let's just look at the facts here. Working in the military is the most stressful job there is in the world.
Yeah.
Being in the military, it creates a lot of problems.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't realize it. In fact, there's a lot of veterans out there that aren't being treated, that should be treated, and that's why you've got such high suicide rate.
Right.
But I do also agree with the fact that they can do more for veterans, benefits and services that veterans should be getting. First of all, I think they need to get better paid while they're in the military.
Yeah.
And then get more resources as they're veterans.
Yeah.
And but for whatever reason, there's a stigma that they want to have it two ways.
Yeah.
Thank you, veterans, for your service.
Yeah.
I'm glad you served.
Right.
But then it's hard to get a job.
Right.
Because they figure you're some mental guy that has problems, right?
Right.
So there's a dual-edged sword there.
It also amazes me the amount of VA employees or government employees in general who never served in the military. Like, you know, if you go to when you go through your first physical and you first get out of the military, you gotta see the shrink, and they're like, "Oh, you're right, you're fine, check the box, here you go." When you're going through your initial physical and you see that first shrink, 9 times out of 10 they are not. That's military. So if you're a combat veteran, how are you supposed to talk to them? Like, you sir, you see two terms about right. What'd you see? How are you?
Well, I worked for the Department of Veterans Affairs for a while, and I learned from them that the managers are not hiring veterans like they should, according to the law.
Right.
They could be hiring more disabled veterans, they could be hiring veterans, and hopefully when you become a member of Congress, you've solved that problem because they're not doing their job.
Yeah.
And the reason they're saying that is that they're saying we don't care about hiring veterans. We just basically want to keep you hiring the best and the most qualified for a position.
Right.
And so those managers need to do their job.
Trying to tell her we're on it for an hour. For an hour, right? Yeah, 1 hour.
All right. So anyway,
no, there definitely. I think there needs to be more integration with our veterans. You know, a lot of these veterans really have a sense of purpose. For example, for me, I'll use my example. You know, I served 3 years. I wanted to do 20. I served 3. My whole entire life, the only thing I ever wanted to do in my life was be a soldier. And
you got injured, so that's the reason why you had to leave.
Well, yeah.
Your story is sort of very similar to mine. Is I got injured in the service too, and so I wanted to. In fact, they had offered me to go into officer candidate school.
Oh, nice.
But I couldn't do it because I was injured.
Right. But I think we need to have a way for those veterans still to serve. I'm in the process of joining the Coast Guard Auxiliary, for example.
Good.
And our auxiliary system's really, really good, but it has no funding, no notoriety, no nothing. It's just kind of there, you know.
Yeah.
You got to find it. I think if we had an auxiliary system that actually made sense and one that was more integrated, we would have more veterans serving their community and having a purpose, and maybe not drinking the bottle so much and have an actual mission in life. That's why one of my things is an American Defense Force. I want to have a new auxiliary created to actually house more Army and Marine Corps veterans versus Navy and Air Force because they have their own auxiliaries. But to give them a sense of purpose, that would take over some of the functions of FEMA. That would give them actual training and actual purpose every single day, that they're a member of something that's defense of the nation, without affecting their disability, without having them PTSD, without having them, you know, all wrapped up in the red tape.
Sure.
I think giving them a purpose in life
is what's going to solve a lot of our transitional problems.
Well, we talked a lot about veterans issues, but I think some of the core issues that people, white candidates usually get elected is because of their jobs program.
Yeah.
Being able to understand of how to create jobs. What do you think about how would you create jobs for the 4th Congressional District?
So here's the thing. As a congressman, I don't create jobs. That is not my job. I am not a job creator. I don't have a business. The government only creates government jobs. So that's kind of a weird thing to say, but that's not my job, is to create jobs. My job is to get the government out of the jobs life, If I put regulations that are not justified.
Well, by you pulling and reducing regulations,
Right.
That's
what creates jobs. Yeah.
So you would be creating jobs by basically taking away regulations. I mean, that would be a
Basically, my job is to create an environment for jobs to prosper.
Exactly.
So I only hire 12 people for my staff. That's the only jobs I create is my government jobs.
Yeah.
The other part of me is to get jobs out of the way. Now, when I do travel across the state or around the country or different countries, in fact, if I do meet with business leaders, I could advocate on my behalf, on my district's behalf, to get more jobs to come in. For example, the car plant that was up in by Carson, that's an example of advocating for jobs to come to you. So I could do that.
How about corporate welfare?
That's the thing. It's kind of weird. So it's a very complex issue. If you think tax code for the average American is complicated, the business is very complicated for tax code. I think a lot of them take advantage of us tax-wise, but I think it needs to be simplified as well. All codes for taxes. I think it needs to be reined in because double-edged sword. You cannot punish a company for being in the country and trying to cut corners to get better business. They have stockholders and stuff. Because then all that does is force them to go overseas and then give jobs away. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. You got to find that balance, which I think that's the one important part where you have business leaders coming to you and saying, "Here's how it works on our end." I don't own a multi-billion-dollar business, so I wouldn't know anything about that. But if I reach out and come to a compromise, I think that's what we're missing.
So basically, once you become a member of Congress, you're going to serve how many terms?
So, from what I understand, I think 8 years total, 4 terms is what I believe is a sufficient amount to be a congressman.
So you'd want to be in there 8 years or 16 years?
It'd be 4 terms, so 8 years would be for the term limits.
Yeah, so 8 years. So 8 years. That seems to be a reasonable time to either learn a job or do your job and get the heck out of the way, right?
Yeah, I think that's good. I think 6 to 8 is good. I think 8 is reasonable because you have senators who serve 6 at a time. I think they should serve 12 max, but that's just me. But I think that makes a lot of sense. I think after 8 years, if you can't get stuff done for your district, you're not helping your district. I always tell people, I'm a citizen candidate. If I become a politician, I'm already not effective. I'm already part of the problem. Don't vote for me.
I think after 12 years and members of Congress, they get this big fat pension too.
No, after 3.
Is it 3 years?
3 or 3.5.
Okay.
Yeah, basically it's 2 terms. Yeah. If you serve 2 terms, you get a pension. Now it goes up with how much more you serve.
So maybe 12 years, because I thought there was a 12-year age limit of being in Congress. If you did it, that would be sweet.
It might increase. That might be a thing, but I know you do get it after 3.
Okay, cool.
Because I know Chris Hart didn't get it because he's only at 2.
Okay,
so that's how I found out.
So he lost his big fat pension.
Yeah, well, he lost any pension from the House representatives. Yeah. Well, he has some from the state, but that's different.
And so there is credibility for members in Congress and honoring your word when you make campaign pledges. Like you're here today, make this thing. This is how I feel. I do this, and then you get elected to office, and then these candidates they forget what they just finished saying for the past 6, 9 months, year and a half. Right. So what do you think? Are you going to be one of those candidates that are going to flake out on this, or are you going
to? Some of these things I couldn't look myself in the mirror if I turned back on them. I feel very strongly about veterans. For example, one of my campaign promises is if I vote to send troops into combat, I will ask Secretary of Marriage to send me with them. I don't believe it's right to tell someone to do something that I would never do myself. I never ask my soldiers to do it. I'll never ask my fellow brothers.
So you're like a George Washington. You want to be in the battle with your troops.
No. I think personal accountability and having skin in the game makes sense. For example, one of my campaign promises is to only use the VA. I'm not going to use our healthcare system. Because I'm a veteran, I want to use the same healthcare my brothers and sisters use. And it's not fair for me to have really fancy congressional healthcare if the VA is hurting right there in DC.
So are you going to still drive, or are you going to be limousine all over?
No. Me and my staff, we're all young people staff, so we're all going to hunker down in a big flat. We're going to all drive carpool together. We're going to have dinner together. It's going to be one big happy college family.
Okay, so one good happy family. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I mean, I really do think.
Okay, so how long have you been thinking about this run for Congress?
So I wanted to run for Congress since I was young, maybe 2000. I always thought the idea of it was like romantic.
So how old are you, by the way?
I'm 29.
Okay, so you're 29. Is there an age limit on members of Congress? How old you have to be?
25.
25. So you definitely meet the constitutional
I'm
definition.
all legal.
So you're born here. You're over 25.
Born here, over 25, not a felon, live in the district. Oh, sorry, not in the state. But
okay, so wait, let's get to the district. You do actually live in the district. Isn't that a rarity now? You have a lot of these members of Congress that don't live in the district.
Ruben Kewen doesn't. My two primary opponents don't.
But isn't that the way it's supposed to be? In order, is there a law that says you have to live in the district?
Yeah, not in Nevada. Yeah, in California it is, but not in Nevada.
Okay, interesting.
See, that's one thing I want to do is if I elect to have federal offices, you have to live in your district. I don't think it's right to represent people you don't live with. I mean, to me, it's a joke. I live in North Las Vegas with Eliante, and it's a very different city from Las Vegas. It's like night and day. Yeah. And if you ever driven there at night, you definitely know it's like driving in the black. It's dark. No street lights or nothing. The infrastructure's not there. And I think people need to have accountability of their neighbors who are representing them in Congress. I think we need to have that. You cannot be running in Las Vegas, a big city, and then try to represent North Las Vegas, which is this big. It doesn't work. You need to know the struggles of your fellow district residents.
So, all right. So you're not very happy with Paul Ryan.
No.
You're not an established candidate. In fact, you're sort of a one of a kind. You're a unique candidate. You've got your own agenda.
Yeah.
But you do support veterans issues, so that's really positive because there's a lot of veterans out there that vote. In fact, my position is that had the veterans not supported Donald Trump, he probably would not be president today.
I don't think so either.
So that was a big win for him.
Yeah,
and so an amazing thing. I don't know if you've read this yet. The Democrats now have 35 House candidates that are all United States military veterans running as Democrats. They have no experience, but they're running as Democrats because the Democrats know that that's going to be a very important issue. So being a veteran is going to be a very important qualification this next election cycle.
Yeah, so it's going to be unpopular, but I don't understand veterans who are Democrats. I do not one bit understand them, and I almost want to say I don't trust them. How you can be a part of a political party that is so anti-veteran, anti-military is beyond me. I couldn't look myself in the mirror if I was a Democrat. These people vote to take away veterans' benefits and give them to illegal aliens. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, one of my good friends ran for Congress 2016 as an independent. He's now a Democrat, and we joke around, about global warming and stuff. And he's my good friend, and I think he'd be an honest man. But some of the policies he pushes and some of the things that he advocates for as a Democrat now, it blows my mind. I cannot get over it. How you can be a veteran and a Democrat? It does not. I don't compute it.
The Democratic Party now is actually using that as a big campaign thing. They're the party for the United States military veterans.
Yeah. Since when?
Since the election of this last election cycle.
It blows my mind how you can be, subjugating minority communities and low-income people, and then want them under the government thumb, and say, "Oh, veteran, we'll take care of you." Yeah, now take care of the Democrats, means we're going to oppress you. That's all it is, about government control.
Oh, okay, so basically, you're gonna expand your base in issues because you say that your number one reason is veterans issues. But let's face it, there's veterans and their families.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other components that are gonna be important to your overall campaign thing.
Right, definitely.
And as you go, you're gonna be expanding more and more of this stuff.
Yeah.
What would be another critical issue for you in this campaign? For the district itself, what do they need? You know, in business, you say you got to find a need and you got to fill it.
Right.
So what does the 4th Congressional District need?
So the 4th
Are they getting representation, first of all?
I don't think they are. Outside of North Las Vegas, I don't think they are.
In fact, they got a new congressman this last time. And so what has he done to get reelected?
He's co-sponsored a few bills.
But there's nothing passed.
Yeah, no, not that. He's
kind of
grandstand.
Okay, so basically, Trump is not going to sign any of his bills, so he's got no accomplishment.
Right, no, he's, I mean, I can't stand the guy. I think he's, I don't say anything bad. I can't stand the guy. And I think he doesn't represent people in the 4th District. He doesn't live in the 4th District. He's a former illegal alien, so that doesn't represent.
Oh, so he's not a U.S. citizen?
No, he was born in Jalisco, Mexico.
Well, that's interesting. I've never heard that before.
So there's a couple of them. There's a couple Syrian refugees out of Michigan that are congresswomen. And there's I want to say governor candidate, same thing.
So you're saying that a candidate that was not born in the United States should not be able to run?
No. You don't have to be born in the United States to be a congressman. That's not a requirement in the Constitution.
But should it be?
Personally, I think so. Yes. If you have control whether the troops go down range or not and fight, I think you should be a U.S. citizen. Personally, but on the other hand, I can understand the argument where the House of Representatives is the representative of the people.
Well, okay. Well, let me tell you. On my side of this, my take on this is the reason they did this was early on when they did the whole thing. There was a lot of immigrants. Let's face it.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot that were not born here, but they wanted to be Americans. They wanted to be citizens.
So assimilation is key.
Yeah, and so we'll just have to wait and see how that pans out. But that's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, I mean that's another thing. Like it'd be a constitutional amendment. States have to ratify it. That's a big argument to have. I mean, that's one of those big key issues that would have to be a real.
Okay. Now, do you support other than the marijuana issue, is there any other issues out there that are out of the mainstream of Republican conservative viewpoint?
No, because I can put a conservative argument on lots of things. I can have a conservative viewpoint. For example, I'm the only Republican that I've ever met that's a big animal welfare advocate. National Kill Shelter bill, tax write-offs for vet bills, American-made dog treats and toys and food, American-made items. I'm the one talking about that. Now, it's not a Republican issue, but I can argue that it's a cost-saving issue and it helps the society in general. So I can put a Republican spin on it, if that makes any sense.
So help the pet.
I think we take care of those who cannot defend themselves.
Elect the vet.
Right.
Help the pet, elect the vet.
Yeah, there you go. I'll put that on a sign. Yeah. But, if you think about it, like California, for example, they get so many strays in, they just kill them right away. Kill it. It's disgusting, it's barbaric, and they kill them. Now, they kill them by lethal injection, by euthanasia. Those chemicals they use aren't cheap.
Well, actually, like in other countries like China, I understand that they actually cultivate or they do the Saint Bernard, and they use that as a delicacy.
Yeah, it's barbaric. I've never seen it. They literally hack them with machetes, still alive, just hacking away. It's disgusting.
Oh my God.
I would probably bring up the issue. I probably wouldn't push it too hard because it gets into international relations. But I would definitely think about sanctions on countries that this is barbaric. If you've seen the videos, it is disgusting.
Well, let's say there are a lot of people that support pet rights and stuff like that. I mean, so there's a lot of...
There are a large population that isn't represented in politics by either side.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get them into our tent.
Well, and that's the unique part of your campaign is you're looking for issues that are going to draw those voters to the polls to vote for you.
Yeah. I'm also the only Republican talking about single parents. I have a plan to provide child care for single parents who work jobs, providing tax cuts to the business who provide the child care. And no one else talks about that. Half my staff are single mothers. And no one ever wants to talk about that. How can you come out to a rally if you got to take care of your kids. I'm the only one who has rallies that have child care provided. No one else does that. I do. Because their vote matters. Their voice matters. We need to represent those who do not have a voice in our government. And we need to open up our tent and get those people on board.
How about the unemployment rate there in the 4th District? Is it very high?
It's kind of hard to say because a lot of it is, it is, but it's skewed because you get in these rural towns, rural areas, the jobs aren't plentiful at all. So
Why?
it's because it's middle of nowhere. You'll have like a Subway and a gas station.
So it's basically a lot of rural areas.
My district is essentially all rural except North Las Vegas, more or less.
Okay, so your district's 4th District is North Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's North Las Vegas, a little bit of northern Las Vegas, and then all the way up right below Carson City. Well, right below Fallon, but it's basically central to that.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's the largest district in the country by land mass.
All right, so basically, if somebody wanted to support your candidacy, and you haven't officially announced yet, but this is sort of like you're getting really close to this happening.
Yeah.
Why don't you give your contact information so anybody wants to contact you about helping you? You seem like a very passionate person and a person that wants to make change and the betterment of America. Sort of like make America great again? What do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of overused by a lot of rhinos, so I always kind of joke that I'm not going to make the 4th District red again. But honestly...
Was it ever red?
Kind of. Chris Hardy, kind of, I guess, a little bit. If you look at the district who voted for Trump, it's actually all red, the whole state, except Clark County. So technically it was red. Still is.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah,
so
but my campaign slogan is lead from the front. Because
okay.
I believe in leadership by example, not by talking. So I have a Facebook. It's facebook.com/drafttim2018. And then my website's timothy4 congress.com.
And your phone number?
My personal cell phone is area code 626-500-3394.
Okay, well, it seems like there's a lot of good issues there, a lot of good campaign promises that you're not going to flake out when you get into that office.
Going to the VA instead of using the health care from Congress provided by an ambulance, I think is an easy campaign promise to keep. Keeping true to my word, if I vote on military action, that's a pretty easy promise to keep. I believe in campaign promises you can keep. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. I'm trying to stay true to my voters. And that's what I think separates me from my opponents.
Now, this is your first political campaign.
Yeah, I've been an activist since 2003. I've never even kind of thought about running. I thought the idea of being a suit in D.C. kind of was like, I don't want to do that. And I still kind of don't. But it needs to be done.
So public policy you've been following for many, many years.
Yeah.
The actual getting your feet and into the process, your name into the ring. This is your first shot out, and you're going to. Let's talk about the actual logistics. Okay, when do you think you're going to make the announcement?
Early August is what I'm aiming for.
Okay, so early August, and
some endorsements and
so you're going to have people come in, and you're going to open up a campaign committee. You're going to be definitely looking for money to help be able to get your message out there, to target the right people to come vote for you. That's sort of what your plan is.
Yeah, that's the general idea. My campaign's going to be a little different, though. I'm going to be more action and less mailers.
Social media, you're going to utilize social media?
Yeah, funny story. Actually, I'm the highest liked candidate on the Republican side right now, and I haven't even announced yet.
And how many likes do you have?
I'm almost at 500, like right there.
Cool.
I mean, the establishment guy is at like 15 last time I checked. So
who is the establishment guy?
Stavros Anthony.
Okay.
Yeah. So I look at it like if elected, I'd be the youngest congressman elected to office, and then I'd be the youngest one from Nevada in history, and then I'd be the first Hispanic male from my first Hispanic Republican male from my district. So that's 3 glass ceilings we're going to break just by electing. And I think once we get one millennial in there, we can represent our generation and actually start turning the tide for the Republic.
How many? What do you have the breakdown? What is the breakdown in the district? How many Latinos compared to?
So it's kind of weird because the census was a little bit ago. So it's majority.
No, this is voting age population.
Right.
Okay, so
a majority are Hispanic and African American.
What would that breakdown be?
I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, to be honest with you.
Approximately, what do you think it is?
Honestly, I've been so focused on the rural district, I don't know how to tell you.
Okay, all right, but you're saying it is primarily a majority.
Right,
Black
majority
and
of
Latino.
the voters are in North Las Vegas,
Okay.
and majority of them are minority.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I've been focusing because I can bridge those gaps and help bring them into our tent. So I've been kind of
Because you
focusing-
understand.
Definitely, I understand. I understand what it's like to live in inner city. I understand what it's like to be Hispanic and up in East LA, LA County. You know, so I get it. I understand. I can relate.
Do you know where Dogtown is? It's East Los Angeles. It's a
Oh, okay. I thought you meant mine. You know, I've heard of it. I haven't been there, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, my father was born there, so that's why I missed that.
Nice.
So, anything else that you want to talk about before? We just got a couple of minutes left that you can think of.
No, I just want to thank you for your service. Welcome you home. I always try to say to all my events is welcome home to veterans. You know, thanking them for their service is good, but welcome them home because there are a lot of veterans who never got welcomed home. And it's very important to make sure they feel that they're at home and they're appreciated. So it's very important just to do that.
Well, thank you, Tim. We really appreciate your honesty and your insight, and we appreciate you being on the show. As we get closer and further down the campaign, we'd like to bring you back and talk about the actual issues that are going to be addressed at that point in time.
Sounds fun.
And thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. You've been listening to Conservative America. My name is John Estrada, and it's been a great broadcast, and it looks like we have a great veteran running for Congress for the 4th Congressional District of Nevada. And if you're interested in supporting him, he may be the guy for you. So contact him. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
and have a great day. God bless America.